Hello everyone and welcome to the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor, co-host of this educational cooking show. Today we're going to learn how to make chicken cacciatore. And to show us, we have Executive Chef Mark DiStolfo of the Napper Tandy Restaurants. He is the executive chef that comes up with these great, amazing dishes. And in front of me, as you can see, is chicken cacciatore served with rice and a delicious, my favorite, garden salad. And later on, you'll see my interview with the Napper Tandy's staff and as well as our craft beer pairing. So let's bring over Mark and Joe, my co-hosts, to learn how to make chicken cacciatore.
Hi, I'm Chef Joe Murphy, and welcome to the Chef's Table series. The Chef's Table series is used to bring awareness to the mission of the Chef's Table Foundation. Our mission is to support homeless U.S. veterans in transition and homeless young adults that may be homeless in transition. We are offering a scholarship to a local culinary school. And by you watching this show, it helps us bring awareness and hopefully you'll be spreading the word. And today we're very pleased to have the executive chef from the Napper Tandy Group, where there's 4 restaurants and the 5th one is getting ready to open.
Yep, just a few weeks away.
Okay, so today Chef Mark is going to be preparing a chicken cacciatore, and we ran an event, Carol, our co-founder, ran an event several weeks ago, and Napper Tandy was a supporter and served tastings of food. And after I tasted the chicken cacciatore, it was the only thing I ate. I had 4 helpings of it, and it was absolutely delicious. So we asked them if they would come on, and we're very pleased to show you this wonderful dish. And as always, Chef, we talk about mise en place, which means everything in its place, so that you have all your ingredients ready to go. You don't necessarily, this isn't baking, so you don't have to have everything scaled per se, but at least have your ingredients, and it'll make your cooking experience a lot more enjoyable. So, Chef, what do you have here? What do you use in this dish?
In this specific dish, we use chicken thighs, the dark meat of the chicken.
Oh.
We buy the chicken thighs in with the bone in, and we debone them ourselves so we can ensure to get the best quality of meat. We use fresh carrots, red and green bell peppers, celery, and we got an array of spices here, along with some diced tomato and some tomato puree.
You're right.
And then we have, chopped garlic, fresh garlic,
Yep.
red pepper flakes, paprika, fresh marjoram, and oregano, some bay leaves, and a little paprika.
I like the idea of you having the diced tomato along with the puree, because I like that extra texture.
It adds a little depth to the dish.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Chef just gave you a tip. He used the word depth. And if you're trying to develop a strong cooking skill, just keep in mind, it is a building process, and you want to continue adding layers of flavor till you get to a great finished dish. And remember, you're the home cook. It's a creative process, so don't be afraid to experiment. You know what you like. And now, do you use wine in this dish? Or?
Yep. When we sear the chicken, what happens is when you sear, when you hard sear meat, any type of fat sticks to the pan.
Right.
And to pull a lot of that flavor that could just get kind of thrown away, we like to use it. So when you deglaze the pan, and deglazing is a term used when you just add you turn the heat on high when all that fat is stuck to the pan. You add a little red wine or white wine or even a little water or chicken stock, depending on what the dish is and what the flavor profile is. And that'll pull those fats right off the pan and incorporate it right into your sauce.
Right. And Chef just gave you another great tip, and it's deglazing. You know, those specks or the browning that sticks to the pan, that's caramelization, and you're going to get an awful lot of depth of flavor into the finished dish. So it's interesting you use the dark meat. You use the thigh, did you say?
Yep, we use the thigh for this dish. Dark meat and chicken, I feel, has a lot more flavor. And when you have a dish like this that compiled of a lot of vegetables,
Yeah.
you really want that chicken flavor to stand out as well.
Right.
You don't want to overpower it with all vegetables. Now, though cacciatore does require both, and a lot of both, chicken and vegetables.
Yeah.
So with the amount of vegetables, it can tend to overpower a white meat breast of chicken.
Okay.
So we use a thigh so we can get a nice even flavor of both in the dish.
Okay. So chef just gave you, another great tip. When you're cooking, try to think through your recipe. And he's using the dark meat chicken because it has a fuller flavor, but because there's a lot of vegetables in this dish, you don't want, everything is an ingredient, and that's how I approach. And I always talk about garlic. Sometimes you go to a restaurant and the dish comes out and all you can taste is the garlic. Well, that's the dish, okay? Or I should say, it becomes the dish. You're not balancing your ingredients. So always try to think that through, and you'll wind up with a much better product. So, I notice you have, what, a canola oil?
This is a canola vegetable oil mix. When I'm sauteing or searing any meat, I like to use a lighter oil. Olive oil is very heavy. It's a great flavor on it, but it's more for salad dressings or garnishing plates, in my opinion. It's got a very low smoke point too, which means it can burn very quickly over high heat. Canola oil, vegetable oil, and peanut oil are terrific. We don't use peanut oil too much though, because there's a lot of peanut allergies out there, so we try to stay clear of it for the most part, unless it's a dish that requires it.
Right. Now, do you use grapeseed oil at all?
Sometimes we use grapeseed oil or flaxseed oil, depending on the dish as well. A lot of vegetarian or vegan dishes that require a certain flavor profile will call for those types of oils.
I've tried to find grapeseed oil in the store, and there's a chef that does a segment on the show, and he tells me, use grapeseed oil.
It's very good. It's very expensive, and it is hard to find.
Right.
Most chefs order it online through a distributor and have it shipped directly to the facility.
Oh, okay.
It's not something you'll find in a store too often. You might be able to obtain it at Whole Foods or some type of very small, locally owned specialty store.
Okay. And chef, you've heard this before. If you're going to use olive oil, particularly when you're sauteing, it has a very low smoke point, and it's an expensive oil if you're using a good EVOO, extra virgin olive oil. So a lot of times chefs will go with the salad or canola oil, and I have to admit, I like to cook with olive oil, but I'm used to it. So that if I see it smoking, I'll discard that oil and start with fresh oil. But I have been using canola oil as well. And what I like about the olive oil, I like the flavor profile. So as Chef said, it's great on salads because of the flavor, or even if you make your sauce, it would be a good finishing.
Yes.
Put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in there. And again, it's compounding the flavors that are there, and it just adds to it. So, all right. So, Chef, we're going to saute the vegetables first? Or?
Actually, first I'm going to hard sear the chicken in a pan over high heat. And I'm going to keep that pan together and start adding my vegetables slowly. Excellent. I'm going to add my carrots first because they're the most dense vegetable I have on the table here. And they're going to take the longest to cook. So I'm going to add those first. Right. Then just a few short minutes later, I'll start adding my peppers and celery.
Right.
So that way we can finish out
Chef
nice.
just gave you another great tip. When you're cooking, go with, for instance, the carrot. It's denser. It takes longer to cook. So get started. If you have peppers, this is going to take a little bit longer. So, as you learn to cook, you will understand that what the chef just told you. You don't want to cook all your peppers and have them like mush. You want to try and get a little bit of texture when you're eating the finished dish.
So another trick too is you can always just try to match the thickness of your vegetables too. Carrots are pretty dense, so if you cut them real thin, they're going to cook faster, and the less time you have on the table where you're, sauteing, and simmering down. Just a few minutes later, you'll be able to add your other vegetables here.
Yeah, and a quick note. Everybody's both parents generally are working, and this is something you could make a couple of days. If you're on a Sunday or a Saturday, if you want to make this dish and just refrigerate it, it's great 3 or 4 days later.
Yeah, you could even make a big batch of it and portion it out into freezer bags and throw it in the freezer, and then when the kids are hungry, you could just throw it in a pan with a little chicken stock and bring it back up,
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, and chicken stock, I use a lot of chicken stock because I find it, again, it's that extra flavor that you get.
Yeah.
And, all right, why don't we start putting this dish together?
Okay, great. I'm going to grab a pan over here.
All right.
And excuse me, Joe, will I grab some heat?
Okay. We move behind you.
So I'm just going to add a little bit of canola right here. I don't want to get too much going. Grab some gloves here.
Now, Chef and I were talking before we started filming, and he attended Johnson & Wales, which is a very well-known culinary school. But most chefs, really good chefs, they started out washing dishes.
Yep, that's where I started.
And clearing tables. Then they started doing prep work, and then they came up through the ranks.
Yep, everything I know now I learned from other chefs that taught me.
Right.
So it was good to have a lot of really good chefs to work with that were willing to teach a young kid like myself at the time how to do things the right way. And there is a right way and there is a wrong way.
Right.
When I was young, most of the time I did it the wrong way.
Right.
So now I can do everything mostly the right way.
Mostly the right way. So
this chicken I'm going to bring up through low heat to high heat because thighs have a lot of fat. Now, if I throw this in a steaming hot pan, it's just going to burn out on me real fast, and you're going to get a burnt flavor in that pan.
Okay.
So with the fat, it's still going to caramelize onto the pan, but you don't want to throw this chicken that has all this fat on there into a steaming hot smoking pan. It's just going to blow up in your face, and you're going to have oil splattering everywhere. So chicken breast, yeah, you can hard sear it over very high heat, but you want to bring this temperature up with the meat in the pan.
So Chef just gave you a number of tips, really, and with the fat on the chicken, you don't want that pan. And I've said many times, in a professional kitchen, those pans are smoking hot because they have to get the meals put together, produced. But in this dish, if you throw that into a smoking hot pan, it's going to
splatter. It's particularly chicken fat that does it. It's chicken fat has a little liquid in it as well. Beef fat, if these were short ribs with a beef fat cap on it, you could just do that really in a really hot smoking pan, sear it down, and it's not going to splatter as much. With chicken, there's so much moisture that the concern is that it's just going to go right in your face as soon as it hits that pan.
Right.
So with chicken breast, like I said, it's a different story. It's very minimal fat.
Right. Yeah, and I like the idea of using the dark meat, and because
it's got a lot of flavor in it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add a little dry oregano right here that I just brought along.
Right.
Because I'm adding chicken stock to this dish, and it's going to go over rice that we'd already made ahead of time that has salt in it already, I'm not going to add too much more salt to this dish. One thing I learned about salt is that you can always, the customer or your friends or family, they can always add it at the table. Don't put too much in the dish because you can't take it out once it's in there.
Right. Yeah, and the suggested method really is when the dish is just about done, you do a quick tasting. And you can always add to it or when it gets to the table. Now, one thing I always recommend on the show is on your salt choices. And there are so many salts today, but for just doing your cooking, a kosher salt or a sea salt is your best choice over a table salt because the crystals are much larger, your portion control will be easier to handle, and as a result, because the crystals are larger, you're not using as much salt and intaking a lot more sodium. So I strongly recommend the kosher and sea salt.
Sorry, I was just messing with the heat there.
Yeah.
Next, I'm going to throw just a little bit of red pepper flake in the pan. Again, not too much, just a couple flakes, just to give it a little heat. Be a nice little kick when you take a bite.
Yeah. With that oregano in there, I'm starting to smell that, which is great.
So, just giving it a turn now.
Yeah.
And I'll let that go for a minute. And I have over here, I just have a mix. I got red and green bell peppers, celery, and carrots.
Yeah.
There's already onion in with the rice, so that's why I left it out of this dish right here.
All right.
We have fresh basil that I'm going to chop up after for a little garnish on top of the dish.
Yeah.
And again, we have some fresh herbs. We have paprika, we have raw garlic. I'm not going to add the raw garlic yet. I'm going to add it in just a minute when I'm almost through with the sear, so it doesn't give the garlic an opportunity to burn.
Right. And
If you throw it in too soon, a lot of people do that, then you end up with a burnt pan, and it tastes like burnt garlic. You might as well throw it out and start over.
Right. And every time we have garlic, I always tell people, do not walk away from that pan, because you do not want the garlic to burn.
No.
And if you do exactly what the chef said. Might as well just throw it out, because it'll ruin the whole dish. I think garlic was originally found in Ireland.
I'm not sure.
The rest of the world tried to steal it from us Irish.
I don't know. I feel like the Italians might have had something to do with the garlic thing.
Right. Well, I think what happened was St. Patrick came to Ireland as a spy for the Pope, and he started sending back ingredients.
Maybe.
Okay.
But I'm not sure that's the story my grandparents told me.
Well, of course not. Everybody, Italian, they all think it was their heritage. It was the Irish that taught people how to
Was it the Irish that invented the meatball and pizza too?
Oh, you do know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very good.
Heard that one the other day.
Excellent. Yeah. And, we're cooking today in the Sons of Italy Lodge in Rosendale.
We are.
And they are our hosts, so we're very grateful for the Italians.
So right about now is where I'm going to add a little bit of that garlic. And again, not too much, just enough to flavor.
Thank you. It's an ingredient, and you don't want to overpower it.
Nope. Garlic is probably one of the strongest things we're going to put into this dish, so you're going to be very careful about how much you use.
Yeah.
Think about the people that you're serving and how much portion you have in the pan. You overdo it, it's going to ruin everybody's experience.
Right. But you do want to let that garlic cook off, because it does have those gases and oils in it. And, if it gets to the point of golden, you're okay, but do not let it go beyond that point.
So right now I'm going to throw a couple of these carrots in. I'm just going to let them caramelize a little bit with the oil and the garlic and the chicken fat, just to get them soak up the flavor for a second.
Wow.
We'll give that a second.
Right, right.
Once the carrots start to cook through with the steam a little bit, I will throw the peppers and celery in.
Excellent.
And then
this is actually I would consider it a pretty healthy dish, because you use
pretty healthy,
the vegetables, the chicken, the tomato, which is, I'm just a tomato fanatic, but and then the rice. So if you use what, a white long grain rice?
We use the right long grain rice, and I believe we put, at the restaurant when they do this as a special, they use fennel and onion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, fennel and Spanish onion. So they take the base of the fennel root and they chop it up, cook it off with the onion, sweat out the vegetables, and they add their rice and their water. Or they usually use chicken stock for our rice to give it a little extra flavor.
Wow. Yeah, I love fennel. If you're not used to fennel or haven't grown up with it, you'll see it quite a bit at an Italian home table. And I was always told it helps with your digestion. But it has that little bit of licorice taste.
It does.
And it's just great. I love it. It's almost, when you eat it, it's almost like eating a nice snappy piece of celery, and that's the type of texture that it has.
I'm going to get the wine ready. We got a red wine, nice dry red wine. Any wine will do. For this dish, any type of red wine. Personally, I like a dry red wine to cook with.
Right.
Anything that's too sweet has a lot of sugar, and it tends to caramelize a little too much in the pan. And it makes a dish that's not intended to be sweet very sugary. Right. So I try to stick with the drier wine, but you can really use whatever your palate desires. You know, it doesn't matter.
And that goes for the white wine as well.
Same as white wine. If you're cooking a different type of dish with white wine.
And way back when I was trained, I was told, use the wine that you enjoy drinking. But if it's too sweet, it's going to change your dish. So keep that in mind as well.
So this chicken's starting to get really tender here.
Yeah.
Carrots are getting to where we want them to be, just in a minute or so.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with these carrots. You don't want them to be too tough when you throw the rest of your vegetables in. So let's try to snap one and check it. If it's not easy to break, give it another minute before you throw the rest of the vegetables in.
Okay. That's a pretty good tip. So you want it to break before you throw the vegetables in?
Yep, you don't want it to be mush, but you want it to be al dente is a good word for it. If you're cooking pasta at home, you know what al dente means.
Right.
You want your carrots to be al dente when you throw the rest of your vegetables in.
You know, with all the different
chefs we've had on, you never really stop learning. And as you said, you know, if you can work with a good chef that will take the time, but you can learn from every chef. Might have a little bit different technique, a little different way of approaching things.
Yeah, I think you're right. Every chef.
Yeah, I think you're right. Every chef has a little different way about them, but I think at the end of the day, if they make good food, it really doesn't matter how they did it, right?
Exactly.
So just a little bit of red wine to pull that fat off the pan.
Yeah.
As you can see what it's doing, it's kind of bubbling there.
Oh yeah.
It's pulling that fat off the pan. All that flavor is going to come out into this dish.
Yeah, and you know, if you have an alcohol aversion, I'm not telling you to use wine, but you're cooking the alcohol off.
Yeah, as long as you add the wine first to the hot oil that's in the pan, the alcohol in the wine's going to cook off. If I filled this pan up with chicken stock and started to bring it to a boil, then add the wine, the alcohol is actually not going to ignite and burn off. You really want to see that alcohol foam away.
Right. I always do a sniff test, you know, because once that alcohol is burnt off, you can smell the alcohol is gone. And so that's one way that I've developed.
Yeah, you can always give it a smell, and if your palate's good and you know what you're looking for, then you give it a smell. This is just a little chicken stock now. I'm just going to cover the pan, and that's going to sweat out for a little while.
Wow, nice. And then reduce.
It's going to reduce. You want to reduce that by half.
Right.
So you lose most of the liquid.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a quick question. If you wanted to do a shrimp cacciatore, just substitute the...
Yep, you can substitute shrimp. Right in for the chicken, do everything the same.
Right.
Yeah, start the shrimp. You want to get a little bit more of a high heat in the pan before you dropped it in. You don't want to start that in a cold pan because it won't really sear nicely. Mm-hmm. Shrimp's it's high moisture, so you have to get that moisture out. If you sit it in the pan while it's cold, turn the heat on, it's just going to kind of steam itself, and you won't have a nice sear on the outside.
Right. Is there any other, I suppose, if you want to do scallop?
Careful there.
Yeah, you really couldn't do a fish because it would break up, and but you could use maybe a monkfish, which is
Get some smoke going on here.
Yeah, a pretty strong, hardy fish.
Yeah, monkfish would be great.
Swordfish, anything like that.
Something under the pan.
Smoke is coming from.
Under the pan. Know what we're going to do? We're going to switch burners real quick.
Yeah.
That's all. We're at the simmering stage anyway, so it's not going to make a big deal.
Right.
Sometimes you get a little stuff stuck under the pan when you're sauteing, and if it gets to the burner, my suggestion is just turn it off and move over to the next one. So you don't set off the smoke alarms.
Okay. So when do you add the tomato?
I'm going to let this simmer for a couple minutes, and the tomato and the fresh herbs will be some of the last things to go in.
Okay.
Fresh herbs I always add at the end, dry herbs at the beginning.
Okay. So chef just gave you a tip. Fresh
at the end of the dish. Yep, close to the end, yeah.
Right, and your dry herbs.
Dry herbs at the beginning.
Yeah, and you want those oils to be released on the dry.
Yep.
So you want more intense heat.
Exactly.
You don't want to burn them, but you do want a more intense heat. I got to tell you, as all these ingredients come together, the aroma is fantastic. And I really like the idea of the celery in there because it gives you that added texture.
Yeah, it gives you a little crunch too,
Yeah.
a little bitter crunch at the end.
Right. Yeah, this is a great dish.
Thank you. Why are all the pans leaking? Huh? There we go. Back to normal. So you're just going to let this chicken kind of simmer down. You would probably want this to simmer for about, I'd say 15 minutes or so.
Right.
Just to slow cook that chicken so it's really nice and tender and fall apart when you get it done.
All right, so for the home cook, how long would it take to put this?
Start to finish with prep and everything, I'd say about 25 minutes.
Okay.
And you could double what I'm doing here and make enough to feed a family of 4.
Right. And so once this chicken stock cooks down,
Yep.
then you add your tomatoes.
Yep, I'm gonna add the tomatoes. Just about 2 minutes from now, I'm gonna add the chopped tomato and the tomato puree.
Okay. You know, I'd like to talk about tomatoes. You know, I know people that tell me they'll cook their sauce for 6 hours, 5 hours. To me, you're killing it.
Yeah,
I think 15 minutes, if you use garlic and salt and pepper and maybe some dry herbs, you got a great sauce.
as long as you get a good product. We use fresh diced tomatoes that come, it's I forget San Marzano. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the tomatoes.
Yeah.
They're really good. As long as you're using high quality product, I don't think there's a need to cook anything for 6 hours
Right.
for a tomato sauce anyways.
Right. You know, another thing, and Chef, use a good product. You know, it might cost you an extra 10, 15 cents on an ingredient, but
Yeah.
if you have a good product, it's really going to help you finish this.
You know what, I think it is coming out of there.
We have a little bit of a issue here, so we're going to swap pans. Oh, that's going to take me a while to clean later.
Yes, it is. There we go. Looks like the handle of the pan was a little loose there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like to do, Chef? If you could move that
Yep.
over onto that towel so we don't...
Here we go.
That way there the camera can see what's going
Perfect.
on. Yeah. Well, I actually brought a very close friend of mine here to help me clean up, Michael Marks, and I'm just so thrilled that he doesn't mind putting some of it...
I don't think he'll mind at all.
No.
Yeah?
No.
From what I hear, he's pretty good at cleaning these stovetops too, so.
Yes, yeah. And we have plenty of food to serve him afterwards,
Yeah,
so... But maybe we should make him clean before he eats.
You know what, I'm with you. I think you and I have been doing this long enough where we shouldn't have to clean up after ourselves.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and
Especially you.
thank you you're absolutely right. Thank you very much.
He's loving you now, Mark. He's loving you.
Thank you very much, yeah. I think there's a term. This is a job for Michael. Huh?
Maybe.
Is Michael moving towards the back door?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
But we got security out there gonna hold him down.
Yeah, all right.
All right, so right about now, I'm gonna add my diced tomatoes to the dish,
Right,
juice and all.
yeah.
Just gonna move those around a bit. I'm gonna add just a little bit of this marinara, not too much. You don't need much of it at all. Okay, and this would simmer down for about another 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And then when you pull the vegetables out, you still have a little bit of juice left in the pan. You don't have to dump all that onto your rice or your pasta. You basically just pull what you want out of the pan, That's it.
Okay. You've already prepared the rice.
Yep, we already have the rice right here,
Okay.
ready to go.
All right. And we're going to serve a salad with this.
Yep, we got a nice garden salad with cucumbers, cherry tomatoes,
Sweet.
bell peppers, carrots.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess, the dish is pretty close to being done. And we could talk about the Napper Tandys. And, I know that, as I said earlier, there's going to be 5 of them. So your cuisine is considered family style?
Family style. We do, it's kind of a little bit of an upscale pub.
Right.
I wouldn't call it gastro, but it's more along the lines of family-oriented food. It's Some really cool, funky appetizers. We got a very easy appetizer on the menu that sells like crazy. It's Bavarian pretzel sticks.
Oh,
And in Millis, we're going to be doing, they're warm, soft-baked pretzel sticks, and we're going to be doing with a beer and cheese sauce, like a
nice.
Wisconsin cheddar and beer sauce.
Wow.
We're going to use an IPA, and we're going to make a lot of fun stuff going on there. We have some traditional dishes we do, like a chicken cordon bleu, which is really good. Comes with a nice white supreme sauce.
Yeah.
They change their vegetables in each location, you know, twice a week, 3 times a week.
Really?
So you're getting something different every time. And each chef at each store really goes all out doing their specials. They really get into it and they have a fun time.
Really? Yeah. So you allow your chef, if he has a few signature dishes that he likes, you allow them
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Which
think
is
it's
good.
great that they're creative and they, you know,
Right.
go out on their own and they try to come up with some really good stuff. And 9 times out of 10, they really nail it.
Yeah.
Some really good food coming out of every location.
Excellent. And you're going to be opening the new restaurant.
In Millis, yep.
Yeah, so you'll be running that kitchen.
Yes, I will.
So, good. Well, then I'm going to come out and...
Good.
So if I invite my 12 friends that are here this evening watching the show, is the bill going south or...
That's not up to me.
Oh,
Jeez.
okay. I thought you were going to say yes. But we'd still come anyways.
We'll take care of you, don't worry.
All right. Excellent. Well, I've got to tell you, the aromas really, you know, have come together, and the meal is great. And as I said, I had it a few weeks ago. I just absolutely loved it. So I'm glad that you're here. Now, you just noticed you added some more dry herbs.
These are the fresh herbs.
Oh, the
I'm getting very
fresh.
close to the
Okay.
end.
Yeah.
So I want to get the flavor out of the fresh herbs.
Right, which is basil.
This was marjoram, fresh oregano, and fresh thyme.
Oh, I love thyme. Yeah, and fresh oregano.
Yep.
Wow. So, in the kitchen, are you using these fresh ingredients as well?
Yes.
In a professional? Wow.
Yep.
That's great.
We try to use as many fresh herbs as we can. Some things require dry herbs per recipe, but usually get finished with fresh herbs at the end of the dish anyways.
Wow. That's really great.
There's a lot of different flavor in fresh herbs as opposed to dry herbs. It's much
Right.
better.
Yeah.
And if you use them right, you're not wasting anything. You know, a lot of people think that you're spending money for something that's going to go in the trash.
Right.
But if you use it and incorporate into a few different dishes, it's not going to go anywhere.
Right. Well, this is great, Chef, and you know, I think we're close to plating here.
Yep.
So we want to really thank you for showing us this absolutely fabulous recipe. And we want to thank the Sons of Italy Lodge of Roslindale, particularly Teresa Curran. And I believe he's a trustee, the cleanup man here, Michael Marks. So we're very grateful. You know, he works under Teresa's direction. And so, Michael, you're going to clean this, right?
For you, Joe? Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So why don't we get going? And just remember, before I forget, if you want to watch this show, rewatch it, and cook along with the chef using your tablet, go to the Chef's Table Series.tv, and then you can rewatch this show. We keep it so that it's always in the library of other films, and we'd love to have you cook along with Chef Mark. So again, on behalf of the Chef's Table Foundation, we want to thank you. And remember our veterans that are trying to work to get their life back. And they've served our country, they're patriots, and they need our help. So we're grateful that we can do this. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's craft beer pairing. I'm Carol O'Connor. I am here with Kelsey Roth. He's a certified cicerone and we're filming, as you can tell, at a farm, Vero Farm in Concord. So I asked Kelsey to choose a beer that will go well with Executive Chef Mark DiStolfo. you saw him cooking the chicken cacciatore with rice dish. So what beer did you choose, hon?
So when for me, chicken cacciatore is kind of like an Italian stew. You get those really nice, slow cooked flavors with the tomatoes and the onions and peppers and a little bit of wine in there. And so I wanted a beer that can kind of match those flavors, has a little bit of toastiness to it, but is still light enough in flavor that it's not going to just be a really heavy part of the meal.
Yep, good point.
So I went with, this is Stony Creek. They're out of Connecticut, and this is an amber lager.
Oh.
And this is, it's also sometimes called a Vienna lager, but it's a little bit darker in color, as you can see, than your typical like German Pilsner or something like that.
Oh yeah, it is darker.
And this beer actually just won a gold medal at the World Beer Cup.
It did?
So yep.
Wow.
For the category.
Oh, I love the art and the colors.
No, it's absolutely gorgeous. With the stork.
Yep.
Or heron, I guess. But this beer has a little bit of sweetness to it,
It does, yeah.
Which is going to help with some of those bitter flavors from the tomatoes and things like that. But it also has a little bit of nutty toastiness, which I really like, which is going to match those like slow cooked roasted flavors.
Ooh, it's a nice taste.
It's crisp and refreshing.
Yeah,
as well.
that's the word. Yeah,
And
I love it.
It's just a really nice beer to pair with really any meal, but I think in particular it's going to go really nicely with that chicken cacciatore.
Definitely the chicken. Yep, and all the vegetables and the rice. Yeah, and it's not too heavy, because sometimes chicken cacciatore, depending how it's made, with the vegetables and the chicken and the sauce, can really be heavy.
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole meal.
But this will definitely break through it.
And
All right, I better stop drinking it.
and what gives it the darker color is that they use a little bit more when the malt is kilned. It's kind of like roasting coffee, and they kiln it a little bit longer, so it gets a little bit of a darker color, and that gives it that really nice kind of toasty flavor, which is just really typical for the style.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful color as well.
Kelsey, good choice. I love it. Excellent. So everyone, this has been this week's This has been this week's craft beer pairing. I'm Carol O'Connor.
And I'm Kelsey Roth, and I'm a proud supporter of the Chef's Table Foundation.
And we'll see you next week. Hello everyone, and welcome to the interview segment of the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor. I am here with owners, husband and wife, Hector and Miriam Morales, and they own Recreo Coffee and Roasterie. So I want to thank you two so much for coming to, come on being part of our show. And I love the decor of your place.
Thank you.
It's so nice and warm.
Thank you for having us.
And it's such a welcome to have you in West Roxbury. And I grew up here, so I'm really happy.
Well, we feel very happy to be here.
Good, excellent. So tell us about, I love coffee, everyone loves coffee, but tell us how you source your beans.
Okay. Well, our coffee here at Recreo, it's single sourced. It's sourced from my family's farm in Jinotega, Nicaragua. The farm has been owned by my family for almost 50 years. And it's 364 acres, the whole farm, but 190 are the plantation itself. We have another part of our farm that's a reservation that we take care of. Our farm is Arabica bean and the majority of our plants. And we bring the coffee straight from the farm into the United States ourselves. We import it ourselves, so we don't use the middlemen.
Yes.
And what we serve here at the cafe is only our coffee. So it's single source and single state, not only from one country, but one farm. And what's special to me is that my family grows it with a lot of love. And obviously through the years, they've been able to learn how to conserve a lot. We're sustainable, where we recycle a lot of what happens in the coffee process of the growing. We are 300 acres, but 1,200 meters high. And so that's a lot of a specialty quality for coffee. And
It's a beautiful place. The
I'm
first
sure.
time, oh yes, the first time I went there, I fell in love with the whole plantation. It's about 4 hours from Managua, which is the main capital. And the temperature is usually between 60 and 78 degrees, which is ideal for coffee.
Okay.
And the farm, the farm it's in the coffee belt in Nicaragua. There are many other farms around, so it is perfect for growing all the beans. And there are several things that are very interesting about the farm. It's shade grown also, so usually for the perfect maturity of the coffee beans, they should get between 30 and 40% of the sunlight. That's why we grow also some other fruit trees like bananas and grapefruit, guava.
Too bad you couldn't bring those here.
Yeah,
Eat them.
exactly.
Drink coffee.
Just to protect the coffee plant from direct sunlight. And we also only pick the red cherries. The fruit of the coffee plant, it's called a cherry, and we only do hand picking to get only the ones that are perfectly matured at the proper time. So that's very particular and very good about the farm.
That's interesting. Now I want to go back to sourcing. So you said single source. Are there other places that do like two source or multi-source?
Yeah, well, the majority of coffee businesses have sourced coffee from an importer who buys from different countries and even different farms. And so you might have like a Costa Rican coffee, but it might be different farms in that coffee.
Oh, I understand.
So our single source, when you come and you taste our coffee, it's something that's unique from the farm. So it's like our nuances. So our coffee is chocolatey, almondy, nutty flavors. But what gives that flavor is how it's grown, the soil, the plants around that gives it that shade. So you're tasting something special because it comes from one country.
Exactly. And I just learned something. That's interesting.
And I think the other aspect is, that my family, before we started importing the coffee and bringing it and roasting here, my parents used to sell to an exporter. So the coffee would go, they didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
But now even for my father, who's been working really hard for 50 years, and for him to know that his coffee that he's growing in his farm, it now gets to somebody in a cup of coffee directly. So for him, it's a dream come true. So that's really special to my heart because I'm able to now not only bring a very good coffee to West Roxbury, but bring something that is a proud product of my parents.
Exactly. Straight here. Like that's remarkable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's family in our community. And I love coming here. I love to taste the coffee. I'm not adventurous yet, but I think after we speak more about roasting, maybe I'll jump to the medium and bold roast that you said a lot of people like. So that's what I'm looking forward to, definitely. So I want to thank both of you for being on our first segment today. And everyone, this is our coffee segment. I'm here with Miriam and Hector Morales. They own Recreo in West Roxbury. And we'll see you next time for our coffee tip.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Chef's Table series. We are talking about farm to table tips. I am here with Steve Verrill of Verrill Farm in Concord, and as you can see, he's holding up a bunch of seeds that's starting to grow. Microgreens.
Microgreen. Actually, this is mustard.
Oh, mustard.
Yeah, which is one of the microgreen greens.
Oh, okay. Tell us about it.
Well, it's something we grow these and harvest them when they're quite small, and it's something you can grow pretty much year-round if you wanted to, probably in your house even. This was seeded a week ago, along with some other different kinds of greens, different colors and things with radishes and different kinds of cole crops that will give different flavors and colors to the mix. And like I say, this was planted a week ago, and in about 2 more weeks it'll be ready to cut.
Oh, nice.
And we'll cut that off and we sell it to restaurants or at the stand, and some people like it in a salad or Some use it just for a garnish.
Oh yeah, that's right. Restaurants do use this in salads or as a garnish. But what does it taste like? Think it tastes good?
Yeah, you can get quite a blend of different flavors depending on what mix you use. This tray is a mustard variety, and that'll give it a little tang to your mix. And
Is that why they call it mustard? Oh.
well, it is mustard. That's where mustard flavor comes from.
It does?
Take a little taste.
Oh my
Take
God.
a little taste.
Do you want me to take it out?
Sure.
I am tasting it.
Go ahead. I don't know whether you got enough to taste or not.
I can see the flavor of the mustard.
We cut this though when it's only
Oh.
an inch or two tall, not really big. You can blend it any way you want to if you're doing your own.
Oh, I'm gonna have to come back here in 3 weeks and try it. You and I can try it on the
There you
salads.
go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, good tips, Steve. Thank you. Microgreens. So everyone, this has been the Farm to Table tip on microgreens. I am Carol O'Connor, co-host of the Chef's Table series.
And Steve Verrill, Verrill Farm.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the interview segment of the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor. I am here at Napper Tandy's Pub in Walpole, and with me is Executive Chef Mark DiStolfo. So Mark, thank you so much for being on the interview segment with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to go right to the point. Tell me what got you into to be a chef.
When I was about 14, I started working for a small restaurant in Norwood, little Italian pizzeria.
Yeah.
And I got really close with the family. A few of the kids and I were in school together as well. And we all kind of got into it together. Their parents really brought us into cooking and taught us a lot of fun stuff. And as I got older, I really started to enjoy it. So I decided to make it a career.
Mm-hmm. Now, where'd you go from there?
From there, I went to Johnson Wales University in Providence.
Oh, nice.
I studied culinary arts and worked at several small restaurants in and around Providence during my college years.
How long is that? 4 years?
4-year school,
Wow.
yep. And then afterwards, I just pursued my career
Yeah.
in multiple different restaurants, and I ended up here with Napper Tandy's. It's been almost 5 years now.
Oh, new.
I've been with the
Good.
company, yeah.
Excellent. Now they have other locations as well.
Yep.
They one in Norwood, Rosendale, and then I'm missing one.
Norwood, Rosendale, we have the Walpole location, and we also have another restaurant in Jamaica Plain. It's called Eugene O'Neill's.
That's
It's
right.
an affiliate of ours. Yep.
Right down near Forest Hills.
Right across from Forest
Yeah.
Hill Station. Yep.
Now you're opening up a fourth Napper Tandy's. Tell me about that.
Yep. This year we're going to be opening up another location in Millis, Mass. Not too far from here in Walpole. It's going to be almost as big as this one. It's
Yes.
going to kind of the same seating, size, capacity. Menu's going to be a little different as we're growing and getting bigger. We're adjusting our menus to meet clientele's needs. And
So what type of food can people find here in the Walpole location?
mostly like higher end pub fare. Yeah, it's your average pub style food, but it's a little higher end than most. Everything's fresh, quality ingredients. It's not a complete scratch kitchen, but it's pretty close.
Right. And you offer like chicken and fish.
Yep, the best fish and chips around.
Really, I
it's
love
a
fish.
huge portion of fish. Fresh fries, coleslaw, all made here, the works. We do a lot of nice seafood dishes, and we got some great quality steak,
Right.
steak tips, some great sauté dishes as well, and a lot of funky appetizers.
I love that word, funky.
Yep, and we do a great bar pizza as well that we're pretty
really?
known for, yeah.
Now, as an executive chef, just to let our viewers know, I know a lot of them are aspiring to either go to school or build their way up. What are the responsibilities of an executive chef? Well, for you, because I know they're different.
For me, it's ordering, receiving,
Yes.
cost control, quality control, scheduling, training. Comes down to sanitation, training staff on that, making sure our health inspections are going smoothly,
Right.
making sure everybody's organizing the coolers properly and stacking the food product properly. There's a lot that goes into it.
And you're also, I'm assuming, traveling to the different locations, right?
Yep, here and
Yeah.
there I go and check in on the other stores, see how they're doing. Each store has their own kitchen manager who does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Each and every one of them is great. I barely have to do anything to work with them. So
Perfect. Now, you said you have a menu, right? Now, do you also change the menu either seasonally or if there's like a special occasion, like during holidays of the year?
Yep. On certain holidays of the year, we do a limited menu.
Yeah.
Every week, each location runs specials, and they change twice a week.
Oh, wow.
And then every few months or so, we go and change the full menu.
Right.
We do a new rollout and train the staff, and just so we can keep an edge on everything for our clientele, so they constantly change and have something to look forward to come in.
Oh, that's cool. Good. And you have a full bar in all the restaurants, correct?
Yep. Each location has a full bar, full service bar.
Yep.
This particular location has 3 full-service bars, the one we're in right now in
Yeah.
Walpole. We have the 2 bars upstairs, and then we have a full functioning pool room
Oh,
downstairs.
Upstairs?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
Is
then
it a
we have-
restaurant or a function room?
Downstairs is the function room.
Yep.
It's got a full bar, and it's also got 9 pool tables, dartboards. So it's more of a game room, but we
Yeah.
do a lot of functions down there as
I'm
well,
sure.
a lot of pizza parties and a lot of private functions, things like that.
my
Birthday
God.
parties, first communions, anything.
Oh, this place is big then.
Yeah, it's pretty
Oh,
big.
I'm gonna have to walk around with my videographer, Rocket Man, I call him. That'll be fun. So, Mark, thank you, and thank you again for being on the cooking segment. I remember Napper Tandy's in Rosendale. They were participated in the event I held for the Chef's Table Foundation. It was called Fashionista and Foodie Fair,
Yes.
and everyone raved about the chicken cacciatore.
Yeah, they did a good job with it.
Yes, it's excellent, and because it's very difficult to find that dish. in the
Because it's kind of an
restaurant.
old world dish that not too many
Exactly.
people will prepare anymore because they feel like they have to be edgy and new.
Exactly.
But some things never die. You can throw out an old school dish and just put your own special magic into it, and people really love it.
Yep, and they did when you did the cooking demo with Joe.
Yep.
It was perfect.
Great.
So Mark, thank you so much for being on the interview segment with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So everyone, this is Carol O'Connor of the Chef's Table series, the interview segment, and we'll see you next week.
I can't even see you anymore. I'm just blinded. I don't even know what I'm looking at.